Hello, I'm with Bob Metcalfe, who is the inventor of Ethernet, or at least one of them anyway, and Faraj Aalaei, who's the president and CEO of Aquantia. Bob, can I start with you first? What do you see as being really hot in the Ethernet space right now?
What was really shocking to me is how Ethernet, after 40 years, is blossoming and blooming all over the place. And one of the things that's happening is it's getting faster and faster and faster. 40 years ago, when we built the first one, Dave Boggs and I, it ran at 2.94 megabits per second, which, by the way, was 30,000 times faster than the day before, and it seemed like a lot. And now we watched it go from 2.94 to 10 megabits, and then 100 megabits per second, and then a gigabit per second. And I hear rumors that it might actually be going to 10 gigabits per second, and then after that, 100, and then finally a terabit per second. So that's exciting. And what's exciting, though, about 40 years of Ethernet is that every time we've made it faster, new applications have blossomed. So it's a build it and they will come recurring over and over again, generation after generation, and now we're going to watch it happen again.
I hear rumors, Faraj, that you're involved in this process of making it faster and faster. Tell us something about Aquantia.
At least, yeah. So Aquantia is focused on developing 10 gigabit Ethernet over copper. Anytime you want to take a technology into mass market and mass adoption, really it needs to kind of run over, at least for the foreseeable future, it needs to run over copper. What's been happening over the last 10 years, it's been the data centers have been connecting switches to servers using gigabit Ethernet over Cat6a cable. With the technology that we've developed, you can run 10 times the speed over the same cable infrastructure without changing a thing. You remove an RJ45, you remove the old card, you put the new card in and plug the RJ45 back in, and you're up running at 10 gigabit per second. It's not 30 times faster than yesterday, but it's 10 times faster than yesterday. Quite fast. Quite fast.
So when are we going to see, I mean, 1 gigabit per second is now pretty much blanket table stakes now as far as Ethernet's concerned. When are we going to see that level of ubiquity?
I think you're going to see it faster than many people think. Today we're seeing the demand from customers asking for 10 gigabit into the enterprise infrastructure. One of the reasons for that is that 802.11ac, which is the wireless standards, is now can put out an aggregate bandwidth of more than 2.5, more than 5 gigabit. And whereas before you could connect the back of that access point to your data room using a gigabit Ethernet connection, you no longer can do that when 802.11ac comes to market. So that has put a tremendous amount of pressure on manufacturers to look for something higher speed. And of course, 10 gigabit Ethernet is here. We think given the process technology, the experience that we've had with creating, taking 10 GBAST into a mass market situation for the data centers, the vendors like us are ready to now take it into the enterprise and make it a consumer really great type technology in 2014, 2015 timeframe.
And can we get a little bit down and dirty into the silicon for a second? What are the major challenges involved with running that speed or that amount of data through a PHY?
Sure. So, the Cat6a cable was put into all of these data centers thinking it's going to run gigabit Ethernet. Gigabit Ethernet uses the bandwidth up to 80 megahertz. When the community started to put 10 gigabit Ethernet standard together, expected the bandwidth over this same cable to go all the way up to 400 megahertz. At 400 megahertz, you're actually using the cable not for what it was manufactured to do, and at the same time, you're starting to be in the band of a lot of noises that were not considered in gigabit Ethernet. So the end result of all of that is that you've created a standard that is a very difficult challenge from analog design perspective, signal processing perspective, just information theory. This technology, 10 GBAST, gets very, very close to Shannon theorem. So it's obviously very difficult technology to master, but I'm happy to say and proud to say that our company has been at the forefront of this thing. Today is the market leader in 10 GBAST. Our devices are used in almost every server manufacturer out there. Many of the switches that are shipping embody that technology, and we brought it to mass market adoption level at this point.
And I have it on pretty good authority from my research is that you're actually involved in, your silicon is actually on the motherboard of a certain Santa Clara company's products.
Well, I can't comment on specifics, but what I can tell you is that In the market situation today, we have tremendous market share. We've shipped more 10G base speed than all of our competitors combined, and we believe that by keeping at the bleeding edge of technology and continuing to innovate, that we can hold that position and become really the leader for a sustainable time on this market.
Thanks, Faraj. And Bob, to bring you back in, what's your take on all this? How do you see this playing out in the future?
Well, when will my Macintosh, I currently plug an RJ45 into my Mac and it automatically figures out whether it's running at 10, 100, or 1,000. When will I be able to do that and it go to 10 gig?
So, like I said, in the enterprise or say consumer level, I think late 2014, 2015, you'll see this capability on devices manufactured by computer manufacturers who want to put 10 gigabit Ethernet on. And it will be able to detect whether it's talking to a 10, 100 gigabit or 10 gigabit device and adjust itself accordingly.
And are there applications other than Wi-Fi backhaul that are pushing people to go to 10?
Yeah, there's actually one of the things that we've heard a lot talked about is people like to be able to retrieve, for example, their video archive from storage devices, and that storage device, for all practical purposes, frankly, could be their 500 gigabyte or a terabyte hard drive sitting on their PC this day and age, and they want to be able to access that very quickly and be able to display that, say, on a monitor device. And those are one of the applications, for example, that drives the need for 10 gigabit.
And I want to hear from you, Bob, as to where you see this going in the future.
Let's see. That seems like an easy question. We're busily going from 1 to 10, and when we're done with that, then we would go from 10 to 40, maybe.
That's correct.
And then maybe 10 to 100, and then 100, and then terabit per second. So what I've been saying recently is that we're busily gigifying the internet. So what do you think comes after gigifying the internet? Terrifying the internet. That would be next.
Okay, well, you heard it here first. Bob Metcalfe predicts we're going to terrify the internet, and we're certainly going to see 10 gig everywhere inside most computers.